All right, good evening. This is Maneesh Vijay from PM Pulse, and welcome to another episode of Webinar Wednesday. This is sixth in the series, right? In each of the series, what we do is we bring one of the best content for you. This Webinar Wednesday is slightly different. This talks about the best resources for acing PMP exams. I am a member of a lot of LinkedIn PMP groups, project management groups, agile groups, program management groups. So is the case with the the Facebook groups. And the kind of stuff that I see people sharing with each other, some of them slightly illegal as well, because people are talking about if you have a copy or a PDF of a certain book, please pass it on to me. So I'm not too sure why the admin doesn't put a stop to it. But keeping that aside, I do see that people are really confused about the kind of material that they should be reading. So I'm going to take up a lot of things. So this is slightly different because wherein I'm not really going to discuss about the various notes that I give away, but there is a fantastic takeaway from this. So I'm going to discuss about the various resources which are available and which are the best resources for acing your PMP exams. All right. So let's get started, and we have some more people who have joined in, so I just hope more and more people kind of join in, and they get to take away more from this. A quick note about myself. Well, 27 plus years of experience into strategy, program, project management across all major domains. I've been lucky to work in just about every industry where project management is done. I'm running a registered education provider of PMI USA. It's a global REP since 2007. I've consulted in 16 countries across 3 continents, authored 3 books on PMP, and they are available only on Amazon right now. I'm the founder of the very first audio platform dedicated to project management. It's called PM20. It seems to be doing well. People are waking up to the power and flexibility of audio. So, well, there you go. Personally certified over 20,000 professionals. I've not counted since 2018 onwards, so we've just stuck to this figure. It's way more than that. So we just say certified over 20,000 professionals since 2007. I'm a nature photographer. I love to drink beer, and something which is a problem these days because of Corona lockdown. But then I write a lot about beer. I do a lot of reviews. I travel different parts of the world for beer reviews and to write about beers and to try different beers. I am a real born traveler. And for some reason, I've started doing wood carving, and I'm now an author as well. All right, so that's so much about me. And let's talk about the purpose and the reason why we are having this webinar. I see candidates are increasingly getting confused about PMP resources. You see, the good thing is there are a lot of resources available. That's the good thing. But are all of them good? Are some of them good? Now, that's a very big question, right? I've also seen that people, and please don't, do not kind of get affronted with my directness. I find a lot of people who are searching for PMP resources as penny-wise and pound-foolish. What I mean by this is a British, idiom, which basically talks about that people will look at a lot of free resources, look at a lot of cheapest possible resources, and then, God forbid they fail, or, they're not confident enough that they pay a lot of money for buying something else, then that doesn't work, and then they pay money for something else. So they keep on scouting around, and they end up paying a lot of money, and they just don't realize it. So it's better not to be penny wise and pound foolish, but that's something that I'm seeing a lot these days. More and more trainings are seriously incomplete or just bad. Now, I'll tell you the reason why. It's not my a sense of arrogance which has kicked in. It's just that things are getting too competitive. Because people are penny wise and pound foolish, it's very difficult for people to sell good content, right? Because it comes at a price. Now, because of that, look at Udemy, look at some of the best known, I'm not going to name some of them, it's not a good idea, but one of the best, most highly, I actually paid for it and saw, went through the whole thing myself, and I was shocked. They were cutting corners like crazy. And I'm talking about the best rated. So forget about the other slightly lower rated PMP courses on Udemy. And then other trainings. Like the other day, I'm not going to name the person. One of my students actually told me that the person has attended some other training somewhere in US, and it turned out to be one of the worst training that person has attended. And then when they attended my session, they felt, well, he was like even surprised that sessions like these even occur. So the person actually ended up spending a lot of money, right? Because he's now spending on me, he's spent on something else in between, he's bought some books which did not work for him. So be careful about that. Reading a lot of wrong books. There are too many books. That's the good thing. But are all of them good? In fact, you'll be surprised. Very few are actually good. And I'm going to talk about that. PMP groups and forums are rife with, I'm sorry, excuse my French, they are rife with trash. Even the questions that the people are asking each other, the so-called consultants who place a lot of questions out there, are absolutely trash. Some of them are actually from a different what do you call a different version of PMBOK itself, and people are trying to answer that. Now that's really bad. And Udemy trainings, I personally wanted to put my training up there, but then I backed out because what's happening there is just price war. People are making very good looking trainings instead of good trainings. Now that's a problem. Now, scope of this webinar, well, it's all about best resources for your journey for preparing for the PMP exams. Right? And now let's get started, right? So let's have a quick poll. I'm going to, just launch a poll for you. So guys, quickly answer it as fast as you can, right? I'm launching it right now, and there you go. So you'll get a question. It's very easy. Just answer it as soon as you can. There's nothing to think about, right? So that'll give you that'll give me an idea. Right? We need to do it a little faster. You guys are already doing a great job, but it seems some people have abstained from this poll. Well, go ahead. You can just, let me know. I'm just going to wait for some few seconds, and I think I'll just end the poll. I'll just wait for a couple of more seconds. All right. So I'm ending the poll right now, and thanks for, sharing this poll with me. Thank you so much. Let's move on. The best resources for acing PMP exams. So let's talk about PMP training, right? Now I've talked about, I cannot take names. I've actually seen different trainings on Udemy. I've heard horror stories about several trainings which have been done online, in person. In fact, I actually, heard of a story about some trainings that they are done just to keep the prices low. They got 70 to 80 people crammed into one, conference room. 70 to 80. Now, how many of you can even ask questions, right? The guy sitting at the back could not even see, the trainer. And the trainer, in order to keep the costs very low, they got one of the cheapest and therefore one of the worst trainers over there. So somebody's raised their hand. So what happens in webinar is that I'll answer this question, any questions that you have. And if you have a Q&A, if you have a question, you can just write in the Q&A, and I'm going to answer all your questions. I'm going to make sure each of your questions are answered, but before I actually walk away. All right. So, but I'll go through this in one full, flow, and I will then answer just before the end of this webinar and answer all your questions. So no point raising your hand, just put a question, but not in the chat, but in Q&A. So I came across these kind of trainings. So I just thought I'll just quickly show you another kind of a training, and let's actually try and understand that when you talk about training online or face-to-face, it's very difficult to do face-to-face now. I think for another 8 to 9 months, face-to-face trainings would be highly discouraged, and for good reasons too, right? So let's have a couple of polls. So very quickly, let me understand you and then try and answer and talk accordingly. So I'm going to launch another poll, and that is, what do you look for in a training, right? Now, it looks like a larger question, but it's a multi-choice kind of options you have. So you can choose more than one of the actions that suits you, right? So there you go. I've launched it. Please go through it. I know it'll take a little bit of time. I have patience and I will wait for it. But please go ahead and start choosing what are the things that you look for in a training. Select all that's applicable. These are multiple choice. Fantastic. You guys are doing a pretty good job. I know it was a little bit of a longish kind of a thing, but it just makes me understand things better so I can actually take it up accordingly and explain stuff to you. All right, we have a few more to go. So please go ahead and answer. The more people who answer, we just got a couple of people abstaining. So if you could, it's just a couple of seconds, I'll wait. All right, I'm just going to end the poll because maybe some people are abstaining for whatever reason, but that's okay. Guys, thank you so much. I'm going to end the poll now. And you know what? A good poll deserves another. So the next poll immediately after that is some of you, in fact, most of you have already attended your PMP training, which provides you the 35 contact hours. I'm going to launch this poll and try to understand that did your training provide you with everything that you needed, like all the things that you said you expect from a training. Did you get that in the previous training or whichever training that you attended? You don't have to talk about which training, specific training. Just let me know, yes, did it or did it not? All right, just a few more to go, guys, and I think we should go to. All right, now we are talking. Not bad. Okay. All right, just a few more. Come on, guys. All right. Okay. Let me not drag it on. And people have polled. I would say the audience have spoken, right? So I'll end the polling right now. But thanks, guys. Thank you so much, right? Now I've got a pretty good understanding of what we are here for. And let me share something very interesting with you. There is something known as PM Ninja Livefire session. Now, why we call it a Livefire session is because, you know, most of us, when we talk about online sessions or online training, people get this feeling, oh no, it's going to be boring as hell. One guy is just going to talk and we just have to listen, you know, probably will, you know, open the internet or do something else. Well, it's not like that. We call it live wire because it's over the wire, it's online, but it's live wire. It's like happening. We really enjoy our sessions, right? So this live wire is one of the most interactive, you know, session that you can have. It almost feels as if you are in an actual classroom. You will not even feel that you're actually, you know, people are joining up virtually from different places, from different geographies, and it's sometimes even different cultures. We have a lot of fun, but the entire focus is on understanding and not mucking up. Now, why is that important, right? You know, a lot of us simply say, you know, I just have to clear the PMP exam. So what's all this about understanding? Now, that's where the biggest problem is. I have no clue when did PMP became something which was removed from understanding and like it's all about mucking up. I don't know when did that happen. but it has happened and it's really bad. One of the best and easiest ways to clear your PMP exams and also to be practically effective is to understand the subject. It's so easy to understand the subject. It requires a whole lot less stress. It's very easy. I mean, the whole PMP session is not difficult. It's just made out to be for some reason. If you try to mug up everything, you've had it, right? It's not going to work. There are so many combinations of questions. So you just understand it. And the best part is, once you understand, no matter which kind of question, how tricky it is, you'll be able to answer. So that's the point. We focus on understanding. Quantitative aspects are explained with a lot of logic and ease. There is so much of stress, there's so much of misinformation about quantitative aspects of PMP exams. It's really shocking, right? But it can be explained to you in such easy and simplistic terms that you'll actually look forward to doing it, right? Complete handholding. Now, what this Livewire does, it handholds you and supports you till passing the exams individually. Each one of them is handheld individually. People follow up regularly. Even if you don't follow up with the trainer will follow up with you, all right? So this is something that Livewire does. Every conceivable material is provided only by Livewire or PM Pulse. We request people not to buy anything from anywhere else. We are absolutely, completely accountable for our material. And it's a lot of it. You name it, you call it, it's there, all right? Just think about it and we have that material, right? So it's all available to people. You don't have to scout around asking different friends and colleagues and going to different forums to figure out, hey, what do I read? Don't. Everything is provided by us, right? And topics are explained with real world example, and it could be from any domain. You could be from IT, you could be from construction, you could be even from oil and gas or aviation, from defense. It really doesn't matter, right? All of us will be told in examples that relate to your domain, facilitated by a person who has certified 20,000 professionals, yours truly. And all ETOs, when I say ETOs, is we are talking about inputs, tools and techniques and outputs, which is so badly misunderstood. People are trying to mug up everything. It's absolutely ridiculous, guys. It's all about basics. You understand the basics, it's very easy to remember ETOs, and the best part is you don't even have to mug up anything. And passing the exams becomes very easy and a lot less stressful, right? Anyway, now the PM Ninja Livewire deliverables are, well, you get a PDF document which contains all the slides. We used to print the books, but now we can't courier it because of a lot of issues connected to Corona lock and period. So we just send out the PDF. One of the most popular books for Ninja Notes, which is on Amazon, that's something that is provided to you completely as a part of this package deal, and you get it as a PDF version. And you get an access to PM Dhwani. It's an audio platform, the very first of its kind on the planet when it comes to project management. And you have a complete access. It's more detailed than any book written so far. Access to most comprehensive flashcards in the industry. Now, just before you guys started, I was talking to one person about flashcards. Like, this is where you will actually develop speed. So I don't know if you're aware that 200 questions in 4 hours amounts to just 72 seconds per question, which means that if you have to do revisions, you have to do it, say, for exactly something like 35 to 40 seconds per question, so that you have the extra seconds for difficult questions and revisions. And the only way to do that is to be able to recall concepts really fast. And how do you build that speed? Use flashcards. We have the most comprehensive 3 categories flashcards all available to you. Access to one of the best exam simulators in the industry. There's no doubt about it. People swear by it. And firm understanding of each and every concept. That's very important. Membership to a controlled and exclusive LinkedIn group. I don't want people spamming. I don't want people posting all kinds of ridiculous stuff which has no meaning. It's highly controlled so that people get the most authentic, and I handhold and mentor them into making sure that they have a full understanding. And, you know, specifically for my LinkedIn group, I even have sometimes open sessions with them. I just call all of them on a webinar and have a special session only for them to understand what problems they are facing. So that's something, a very exclusive group. We just don't invite everybody, but anybody who's with Livewire also gets automatic entry into that LinkedIn group. And oh yes, you also get the 35 contact hours, right? Now, if you guys are interested, you want to revise, or you are facing some problems, well, these are some options available for you. You guys can go ahead and take a screenshot if you want. The next one is starting on May 30th. That's a Saturday, 31st, Sunday. Then there's a gap, and then we have a few hours on Friday, and then which is June 5th, and then 6th and 7th. So it's basically a weekend, with June 5th being the Friday. So on weekends, which are Saturdays and Sundays, say about 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and with breaks, of course. And then on Friday, we go from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. with just one break. And this covers more than what we need to. That's the option one. The option two is, well, just after that. So June 30, June 14, and June 19th. Followed by 20th and 21st. So that's all in June, and that's option two, the same kind of time available for you guys, right? And then we have option three, which is, kind of leading into July, June 27, June 28th, which is Saturday, Sunday, July 3, which is Friday, 4th and 5th of July, which is Saturday and Sunday, which is basically a weekend. So these are the dates that you have options. In case you feel that you guys are interested, all you have to do is just write an email, workshop@pmpulse.net. Workshop@pmpulse.net. All right, let's move on. Now comes the bigger problem, the books. There seems to be quite a few books, right? And I am actually going to discuss some books, and I'm sorry, some of you may not like what I'm going to say, right? But it's a fact. I've seen horror stories because I mentor a lot of people, right? So I'm going to just share something with you guys, right? So let's look at some of the most popular books. By far, the most popular book is PMP, Rita Mulcahy's PMP Exam Prep, right? I'm sure there's a different edition now. I just wanted to put this this image, not necessarily the most correct image. But let me tell you something, guys, this is by far the most popular book, right? Does not really make it a good book. You need to understand the background of how this book was written. And Rita, unfortunately, she's passed away quite some time back. But when this book was created by Rita herself, Mulcahy, she was the wife of the then, the president for PMI. So some of the things that's written in this book is almost like conflict of interest, or it's not really done. So she talks about, see, the first thing you need to know is she never worked. She was not a project manager, right? She just had a great opportunity to write this book. This is the first book ever written on PMP, right? And that's why people get this feeling that this is the only book. And I'll tell you some of these amazing, glaring problems with this book. For example, the way the critical path is calculated, where the float is calculated, the way a lot of things, even EMV, expected monetary value, earned value is kind of okay. It's not explained at all. She just asks you to mug up the formulas, which doesn't really make sense, because a little bit of complexity of questions and you're dead. So she even talks about 6 constraints in PMI, which PMB okay, which is actually just 3. And the entire risk management is almost incorrect. So is the scope management and quite a few things in between. Now, why is this book popular? Because she talks about something known as PIism, that she says that, hey, you do whatever you have to do in the real world, but when the PMP asks you this question, say this. Now that's dangerous, right? Because PMP actually asks real world questions. People think it's academic because they've studied it in an academic fashion. And they try to kind of learn and mug up everything and try to answer. I'm sorry, it's pretty bad. I've heard horror stories about it, and people are going crazy. And what's even worse, whether this book is good or bad. The point is, it's like people are even literally doing illegal stuff of PDFs, or illegal copies are being sold. Now that's something we should abstain from, right? You're going to go and go for a $500, $555 worth of PMP exams, and that's what we're doing with the book. So it's not you guys, I know, but I'm just saying that a lot of people are doing it, and it's pretty bad. Don't do that. And this book, believe me, is not really good at all, right? So I just wanted to bring it up. There's another book which is written by Scott Pine. It's slightly better than this, but unfortunately with this is, again, here, none of the concepts are at all explained. It's again like, a brute force that you learn this, you mug up this, you do this, do so many questions, and you're through, right? There's no explanation whatsoever. All right. And but yes, compared to Rita Mulcahy, there are less mistakes in this one, right? At least this person has written some stuff, but it's all tips and tricks and like somehow clearing the exams, which is a very big issue because you have to learn too many things, and it just puts on a lot of stress, right? It's a professional exam. You just need to understand things professionally. You can do it. Now, Joseph Phillips is the same guy whose Udemy course I went through. So just like the Udemy course, there are a lot of things missing in this particular material as well. The focus is again on just kind of if this is the question they ask you, just do this, or not much of explanations, right? And there is actually some explanation, and his writing style is pretty good actually. He has a very nice writing style. Unfortunately, there are a lot of material which is incorrect, just like the Udemy course, right? Now, the slightly better material, Andy Crawford, forget about it. That's just a book not to be touched. So I didn't even touch it here. This book is actually trying to do a good job, head first, right? Seriously, they tried their best. Unfortunately, when I did a search on I think four writers, 4 people who wrote this, or 3, I forgot. When I searched for them individually, two of them have a LinkedIn account. So I went through them. They really don't have much real world experience, right? But what I really liked was the attempt to make it interesting. They tried their best to remove what I call the fear factor, right? Unfortunately, many of their questions are incorrect. I mean, I'm not talking about the answers to the question. The questions themselves are quite incorrect. So that's pretty sad. But this is the best among these, right? And definitely kudos to these guys. They've done a wonderful job by somehow trying to make it less stressful. But the book has become so big, and they talk about so much of funny things like the mad cows gone wild, or something like that. It's like people get lost, right? So it's a good attempt written by people who may not have had the best experience, but it was a fantastic attempt, right? You could also look at another book, and that is called Read and Pass Notes for PMP Exams. It's not a very old entrant. It's a very different kind of a book. It's the most comprehensive and interesting book published on PMP exams. It's really interesting. It's very engaging. Available at Amazon.com, Amazon.in, and every side of Amazon, right? All you have to do is search for Maneesh Vijaya or Read and Pass Notes, and you're done. You'll find it. This book has over 900 illustrations. I'm going to show you some of them to make you understand why those illustrations are there, right? And why it really makes a very big difference. After each chapter, each knowledge area, there are ninja drills to make sure that the most important tips and tricks and most important recurring concepts of that knowledge area are absolutely clear in your head, right? And it has an access to PMP exam simulator. It's one of the most powerful simulators that you can think. So there's a code at the end of this book. You just go to that site, enter that code, and voila, you just become, access to the entire simulator, which has more than 1,200 questions and absolutely curated questions. All right. Now, the best thing about this book is there is nothing left to chance. Everything is explained, right? For example, even basic things like people get confused about organizational process, assets, and enterprise. There's not a single book which has actually explained this, and I don't know why. It's very basic. So what I did is I made all these kind of drawings, and it's there, and you can read it. That environmental factors could be external and internal, and these are some examples for it. And OPAs, which is organizational process assets, what are they? And along with this, of course, there's a lot of explanations. There's text available, but then a lot of images. Almost everything is covered. So we talk about the ouchies theory. Now, some of you may know about it, but questions do come on this. It's a Japanese theory about lifelong employment in a company, so that people can say their entire career in front of them and they don't leave, and it motivates them. But it doesn't work in all cultures, right? So what does it do? So there is an explanation. It tells you exactly, and you can actually, when you are explained in this fashion, you can actually see which companies actually have this policy. So it becomes very easy for you to remember and answer questions. You don't have to mug up anything, right? Everything in detail. Like, for example, if you talk about resource calendars, you will have these special icons called exam special, which talks about things like resource calendars are first time output of the process acquire resources, right? So, which means if there's a situation in the exams where you need to know resource calendars and output of what, and it's acquire resources, but they also become outputs of other places as project document updates. That really doesn't matter, right? So nothing is left to chance. Everything is explained, even the warnings, right? Some of the common mistakes that happen, like if the term says type matrix, people confuse it with some of the matrix organization structures when it is not. So war room, right? Type matrix is like a co-located team. So everything, nothing is left to chance. Barriers to communication, everything in detail. So I think you can get an idea as why there are 900 illustrations. So there are a lot of tips and tricks, right? Huge, complete examples with questions like what happens, what do you do, what to watch out for, right? All of them are there. And even warnings, like, for example, a lot of people feel that when numbers and ratings are used for prioritizing the risk, they are actually in the process called quantitative analyzing. That's wrong. It's not really true. No matter how you're prioritizing the risk, whether you're using numbers or otherwise, you are in the process of risk prioritization or qualitative risk analysis. So everything is provided, right? In the exams, if it is asked how to measure the sensitivity of a risk, simply select using tornado diagram. So explanations, tips and tricks, everything. Nothing is left to chance. And the images are used very strategically. So it tells you like exactly. Now, if you look at an image like this, it kind of stays in your head. Nothing has to be explained. And whenever you talk about qualifying risk or prioritizing risk, you know exactly what has to be done, right? So images have a very powerful impact, and they have been placed very strategically. For example, how do you calculate flow? So first we understand the naming conventions, the placements, right? And then we work our way forward. So how do we do it in forward pass? The entire calculation is done with a calculation, formula, right? Now in readable, in Andy Crawford and a lot of other books, unfortunately, this calculation is entirely wrong. If you do it, nobody can help you. You will flunk those questions in the exams, right? You won't believe they actually start with 0, like early start. Will start with 0 in those books, which is, I don't know why, who wrote it, how they wrote it. It's really crazy. Basic mathematics, they've got it wrong. I have no clue why. But anyway, so we talk about forward pass, then we talk about backward pass. Each of this is, calculated, shown to you in detail so that there's nothing missed out. That's the strategic use. And then what it does is actually gives you a full, fill in the, blank kind of a thing. You try to fill it up, you try to solve this, and after some time, a few words later, you have the entire, the answer with the calculations and everything. So basically, all the images are used very strategically. There are a lot of examples. Tons of examples from actual real world. So for example, if I'm talking about lead, there would be an example from construction, like real construction example, so that people can relate to it. The same thing will be shown to you from a manufacturing example, right? The same thing will be shown to you using an ID example. So basically, it's focused on understanding to such an extent that no matter what question shows up in the exam, you are very well prepared to answer it. And forget about just the exams. this book will also make sure that you are actually practically effective, because everything is explained with examples. Now, there is a portion in the exams about Agile, which is not very well kind of covered in most of the books. In fact, most of the trainings itself. What's been done in this book, that even strategically that has been explained at the right places, right? So a lot of stuff has been explained about the agile portions of it, where it gets in, where to find it. So if they're talking about burn down chart, they're only talking about control schedule and nothing else. So those kind of associations have also been made, and also made you understand it and how easy it is to understand, right? And then after each of the chapters, there's a complete drill. The most common aspects of that chapter is discussed. And not only that, guys, what happens after that is the drill is also for the most important ITOs. So that by the time you finish a knowledge area, you do not really have to come back to it. You go forward fully stocked, all right? So that's how. And then, of course, it gives you access to one of the best exam simulators that you can imagine. It's really something. And, you know, there's a place where you have Kindle users. If you bought that book, or if you're PMP Livefire, you got automatic access. So that's what you use. Now, there's some other books which are for selective preparation. So for some of you who've already prepared well, and they've attended a good training, they've got good books, they went through it, they feel pretty strong. There are some, and you just need a selective preparation. Okay, I want to do only ETOs, or I want to do like some ninja notes. So basically what happens, there are some selective books, like for example, ETOs. This is the first book written on ETOs, and there are a few more books which have come out in the market, and this is still the most popular. And it teaches you ETOs in a way which you don't even have to mug up. There's no mugging up required. It's like one of the simplest books that you can read. It makes you really powerful about ETOs, right? The way it should have been taught in the first place. And it's available on Amazon. And again, you just have to write read and pass notes or my name, and you'll find this book. Absolutely no mugging up. And it's the fastest and simplest ways to master ETOs, has exercises within the book, right? So this is one very powerful and interesting book, right? People have given, people come back to me and tell me, you know, pretty great words about it. So that's one. If you're into Ninja Notes, well, this is another book for selective preparation, where only the most important notes are provided. Again, available on Amazon. And this is something that you just read a couple of times just before the exams, and I think you're set, right? This is something that guys who attend a Livewire, this is something part of their package. They get it, so they don't have to buy it at all. So does not require any mugging up again, and it's very surgical and effective preparation. It's very surgical in nature, right? And it's one of the easiest ways to brush up the concept, and you can read and ace your exams. Literally read and pass. That's what it is meant for, read and pass. Now, some of you who like audio, a lot of people don't understand the power of audios. Audios are really powerful these days. You can get hold of these audios, and it's available at PM Dhwani. It's dhwani.pmpulse.com. And in fact, even if you, there are quite a few packages there. Like it has got Ninja Notes and audios. It's got the entire PMP on audios, and it's also got ETOs on audios, right? The best part about audios, you can listen it at any point, anytime, right? Anywhere. And it's really comprehensive and utilizes your time well. It's got 3 packages. Now, even if you visit it and you don't have to buy, I mean, if you're not the audio types, there are a lot of free audios. So you can actually treat yourself. I think right now it's close to 54, 55 audios I've already placed there, and there'll be a lot more plays. And it's like really powerful audios. Even blogs are there on audios. So just check them out, see if you find them comfortable, right? And if you want, you can even have an access to it. Livewire guys get an access anyway for this completely as a package. Now, before we end this, I just wanted to let you know that there are some steps involved in preparation, and I keep repeating it again and again in all my webinars because people are getting it wrong. So even the preparation are wrong, even if they have the right resources. So I just thought I'll let you know, guys, the first thing you need to do is build your knowledge base. Do not test yourself at that point of time. It's one of the worst ways to prepare. Just concentrate on reading up, making sure that you can recall the concepts, and you can remember the formulas. Like, concentrate on that. Just read, just kind of understand, just build your knowledge base. Do not get the urge to somehow check, hey, let me test my knowledge. Don't do that, right? It's either going to discourage you or going to make you overconfident based on the kind of questions that you ended up answering. Both of the cases are wrong. Once you have the knowledge, then you build up your speed, right? Then you recall, and that's where your flashcards come in. And once you've done that, that's when you practice full exam sets, build your stamina so that you don't have to go back. This is the fastest way to clear the exams. If you keep on building your knowledge base and also trying to answer questions, you will be going around in circles and you'll be postponing your exams. You will not go anywhere. Stick to this, trust this, you will get through. All right. Now, I have a question about paid webinars. Now, I'm requesting all of you to quickly help me with a poll, and I'm just going to launch a poll, and let me know what do you think about this paid webinars, right? This idea has been floating around for quite some time. I just thought I'll ask you guys. So if a webinar gives you a lot of serious value, right? So, like the entire critical path explained very well, or of, the float calculation or earned value, something that people find very difficult, right? If it's explained, how much, like, would it be worth paying or not? So, okay, so I've got, all right, not bad. So some people, as usual, are abstaining from the poll, but I really am grateful for you. So I'm ending the poll here, and it gives me a lot of interesting feedback, right? Fantastic. Now, in case, you may not be aware, I've just decided to start a PM clinic. I've started something which is called PM Clinic. Clinic, just like a health clinic. I'm going to take up a topic and really thrash it in such a fashion in just 1 hour, 45 minutes, or 2 hours, just never more than 2 hours of a paid webinar series, right? Which will take care of some of the most difficult and misunderstood concepts in PMP. And that's something that I want to focus on. So let's see how it goes. So I am actually coming up with one on 29th of May, 2020, which is actually a Friday towards the evening. It's going to start at 6 p.m., right? That's based on India time. And it's currently priced at $5. That's maximum what people have been saying, that's a good amount. Some people have even said that they're ready to pay $15. But I'm going to start with 5 and see how it goes, because the value that we provide is something phenomenal. So that's something that you could look forward to, or you could let others know who may be struggling. So that's something called PM Clinic. I've already scheduled it. The first thing I'm going to talk about is organizational structures. Now, this is one topic which is so horrendously explained in almost every book and Udemy course that I've gone through. I have no clue what those guys are talking about. This is not only very easy, if you explain it properly, no matter how complex the question comes, people will be able to answer it. This is something, if you understand, you can actually consult at strategic level, right? So for example, one of the consulting I'm doing is I'm changing the organization structure of one of the automotive companies in India, right? So, anybody can do it if they understand. So, and from exams point of view, guys, you'll be shocked. At least 10 questions out of 200 questions, at least 10 questions come only from organizational structures. You just don't come to know, because the question is based on a scenario and the options will be based on whether you understood the organization structure of that scenario correctly or not. And that's how at least 10. So definitely more than 10 questions. So that's why I thought, and it's being taught so badly, I thought I'll start with this and make people realize that how easy and how amazing this concept is, right? You'll start looking at companies in a very different fashion, forget about any kind of questions that come your way. So that's what's going to happen on 29th May. Think about it and do circulate it to some people whom you feel are struggling with their preparation. So that's something to look forward to. All right. So this is based on the amazing feedback that I got from most of you guys. So, all right, that brings us to the end. So I'm going to have some Q&As. Okay, so somebody said that, can I see the June dates again? So I'm just going to go back up, guys. Wait a second, let me close this. Sorry, a whole lot of material to go back to. All right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. So I'll just go through the dates again for those who really would like to know the dates. All right, so I'm going to go through the three options once more. So the option, the option one is on 30th of May and 31st of May, which is Saturday, Sunday. Then there is June 5th, which is Friday, and then 6th and 7th of June, right? So 5th, 6th, and 7th. So there's a gap of say around 4 days in between. You can. So this is option one. And then you have option two, which talks about June 13th, June 14th, which is a weekend. Then again, 19th, which is a Friday, and then 20th and 21st, which is again a weekend. Now, if you go to option three talks about June 27th, 28th, and then we switch over to July, which is July 3rd, which is a Friday, and then 4th and 5th, right? So these are the options we have, and go ahead and let me know on workshop@pmpulse.net, right? So let me look at any other question. So let me look at if there is anything else, any chat message. All right, so all right, guys, any questions, anything that you would like to discuss, do let me know. Meanwhile, let me go all the way towards the end. All right, so far so good. No more questions so far. All right. All right. So guys, this was it. And this is the free resource, my gift to you guys, that you could actually note it down. And this is the link that I have for LinkedIn group. So for some of you who are, need a personal mentoring, this is a gift for joining this webinar because time is of importance and you gave up your time to be here. And the least I can do is acknowledge it. So what I can also do is actually, let me do one thing. Let me copy this and put it on your chat. So how's chat going to help you to actually be able to copy it from there? Because you'll not be able to copy off the screen. So you can just copy it and you can send me, you can click on it and actually connect to it. And I'll get a LinkedIn message and I'll give you an approval and you will join, right? And there's a lot of stuff there. There's a lot of mentoring that I do. I follow with people, right? So go ahead and do that. There'll be a lot more stuff coming in. And my LinkedIn group, I take them very seriously. I mentor them, right? So they're my closest group of people. So you're welcome there, right? So guys, thanks a lot for your presence and really appreciate your time here. And look forward to you again on the next webinar Wednesday. And the next one would be on certain important tips and tricks for the exam. So I'll be taking up another topic and explaining and walking through it, right? So every single Wednesday, there will be a webinar, and that's what it is, Webinar Wednesday. All right. So thanks, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. By the way, it seems there's a question. Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot, Mr. Purohit and Mr. Paul. Thank you. Have a great night. Thank you.